I'm getting too old to go back out to North Dakota and kill, die in the fields out there. But, I can try to do something with my art. I can try to do something with what I know. I like talking. I was a bartender for many years. So I have no problem talking to myself really like this. I'd have no problem on a live stream, BSing with people and, that kind of thing. So I figured why not give that a shot? And the graphic novel thing, making graphic novels. And that's an interesting process that I'm finding out. Showed you guys yesterday. 100 pages deep. And I actually did 4 more pages after that, so I'm 104 pages deep on my book. Yay. And that'll be done, I'm hoping by like April or May. No issues, because it's going to be fully colored too. Well, maybe it'll be fully colored. I'm going to do it all in black and white first, and I'll see what it's like. And then what you usually do is you take the original and you get that copied on paper, and then you color it. But it all depends, because a lot of the coloring I'm going to be wanting to do is watercolor. So you can't use like copy paper for that. You got to use special kinds of paper that absorb the ink and the water good, Otherwise it'll be all messed up. Alright. So we got our little city down here that's from the old world. Falling apart. And we got the new world behind it, the big gleaming city of the future behind it. And then down at the very bottom here, if I got time, I'm going to put like shanty town. Shanty town of people living. That should be interesting. Yeah, you see how those are coming along now? And then we'll put some windows in them too and stuff. It'll look so cool. Yep, the internet beefing never gets old. And then you can get to like the real pros like Keemstar and Boogie and all those guys. The Lolcow University or whatever the hell they're called. And that's just, I don't know what you call that whole scenario. I don't know if you just call it the freak show or... But there again, those guys are making more money than I'll ever see. So, I guess they're the ones laughing, right? I don't really get into the whole, the H3N1 guy or whatever the hell his name is. Ethan Klein. That's getting more malicious than I like to get on the internet. The beefs that they have is like swatting each other and calling CPS and crazy shit, that's stepping over the line, if you ask me. Oh, but they do it. They do it. Funny stuff, I guess. I'll never get over that. They call the guy a loser and he makes $2,000 a week sitting on his ass playing video games. What the fuck? It's unreal. It is unreal. It'd be funny to be in one of those sessions bashing everybody with them, getting bashed. Oh yeah, we're just some loser that makes X amount of money drawing pictures on the internet. Haha. I wish I could get to that point. That'd be great. In fact, I will signify that as a sign of success. If I'm ever on Keemstar or Kino Casino and they're calling me a loser for only making $2,000 a week, I will consider that I've made it in the internet at that point. Until then, I'm just going to keep plugging away. Gotta learn how to edit. First I gotta get a program on my computer For whatever reason, they just don't make enough for the Linux-based stuff, you know, which is understandable. You know, the world runs off of Windows and Apple BS, so that's what they're going to be making mostly, you know. So I mean, that's understandable. But it's like there's got to be something out there, you know, comparable. Doesn't need to be super good. I'm not Spielberg over here. I'm not trying to make insane edits, you know. But it'd be nice to, you know, take a hour video that I make that my GoPro breaks it up into like 18-minute chunks. You know, it'd be nice to take those and turn them into one thing, you know, or just turn them into 2 half-an-hour videos. I don't know, you know what I'm saying. That would be cool. But yeah, guess we'll see. That's all I'm trying to do here, Lord. That's it. I'll figure it out one day. You know, just even in the last few months, the stuff that I've figured out how to do is already way ahead of where it was, so. And like I said, I'll just live stream from my damn phone if I have to, and I'll do that until I make enough money to buy a nice purpose-ready streaming laptop and phone just dedicated to YouTube and Kick live streams. And because my days off from work where I could bust out a live stream would be Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, or all three. You see how cool that looks? Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, or all three. And, you know, just go from there. Now I'm all paranoid about my pins, like, just like, you know, because as soon as you put the pin down to start drawing, it could go blip. And just blop a big thing of ink on your deal, you know? You don't want that. You don't want that. So, oh no. Okay, so this little guy here. Draw the little tiniest door. Right there. There's little stairs going up to it. And then, very subtly in here, we'll do this. Putting some details in the crane here. Nothing too intense. Yep, and it's just picking up a block of stuff and bringing it in. We'll put extra blocks on the side here. And it's not something I would have drawn, but not much I can do about it now. Put it right there. Just make it look like some details in the building, I guess. So now we gotta make some cracks kind of coming out of all these ruins. Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty funny though. Actually, I put them on quite a bit, Kino Casino, for just background noise. If he's made fun of you before, that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. Just, it's funny, you know, I don't know. It's funny stuff. If they were making fun of me, I'd get a kick out of it, like I said. Not everybody has my sense of humor, but regardless of that, it's just getting roasted is all it is. I mean, celebrities get roasted all the time. And honestly, when you're a public figure, that's just what happens. People are going to come after you for whatever, you know. Doesn't make it right, but it's what happens, that's for sure. And like I said earlier, you know, when I was a kid, getting teased, bullied, I wouldn't call it bullied. It's not like they're telling people to go off themselves or anything. They're just talking shit about You know, if I did that like every 5 seconds, you know, they would say something, you know, and it's like, cause it's socially awkward shit, you know, is what they're talking about. And it's like, alright, I get that. I get the whole socially awkward thing. You know, and you look at people they go after a lot, like Phil, you know, DSP and iDubbbz, and it's like they are some of the most socially awkward, weird people in the world, you know? That's why. And that's part of the reason they got famous to begin with and got internet clout. Well, Phil, really, he fell into it, if you ask me. He happened to just be born, you know, into some money with his family, so they were able to, you know, put up with his bullshit, get him a job, all that. And then he started YouTube on when it was nothing, when people didn't even know what the hell it was. You know, like, I remember when YouTube came out, and I thought about putting stuff on there. Some videos or some art or something, but it was like you needed a computer. You know, we're talking 2004 or 5. You needed a computer, a camera, shit that cost a lot of money back then. And, just couldn't do it, and I just didn't see why. I was like, for what? You know, basically these are just people putting up videos for shits and giggles. But then, you know, a few years later, of course, it got super big, and a bunch of people got paid, and it's like, yeah, and if you look at a lot of these people, not all of them, of course, but a lot of them came from families that had money, a couple bucks, were able to buy them computers and cameras and shit. You know, I was lucky if I got the action figure I wanted when I was a kid growing up, you know, let alone a freaking computers and cameras and all this other shit, just so I could make at-home movies to put on some BS channel, you know, like, just wasn't gonna happen. So, just, be thankful, kids, if you come from money, because it is tough out there. It is tough out there. Alright, let's put some final details on these buildings down here. Throw some windows in. Yeah, but be thankful, kids. If you come from money and you don't have to worry about shit, and somehow every time you give a list to Santa, everything that you had on the list is under the tree, then you know. And that's fine, that's okay. I don't hold that against people. The only time I hold it against people is when they don't recognize it. When they think that they had struggles as hard as mine, when they didn't. And don't get me wrong, there's people that have had far harder struggles than me, so. But I guess just recognize your station and what you've gotten in the world, and be grateful for it. That's all. I mean, growing up poor made me resourceful, I'll tell you that. Made me very resilient, made me very resourceful. And I put myself through college. Not a great idea, but I did it. So, after I dropped out of high school, on my graduating year, like an idiot. But I did it, so made it happen. Alright, so we're getting near done with our buildings down here. I don't want to have some put some windows in them here and there. You know, speaking of people on the internet, how about those ding-dongs overseas, that Vitaly guy and Johnny Salami? What a bunch of idiots. I can't believe those guys. I can't believe them. That Vitaly guy especially, like, he's screwed. He looked like he was into roids and everything, you know, allegedly. And that's something you can't, you know, if you're taking that stuff and then you come off of it because you're in jail in the Philippines, it ain't gonna be fun. amongst other substances, I'm sure. And it's just like, ugh. And I saw the video of Vitaly, of what he did over there. He was a complete asshole. He stole like a security bike, tried taking some like cop's gun or something, allegedly, like terrorized some old lady. You know, and it's like, you think the wheels of justice in America don't move fast? You should see how it is over there in freaking the Philippines, man. You'd be begging to be back in America, waiting around for a year for your freaking trial. Oh yeah, and you'd be waiting at your own house, by the way, in-house suspension or whatever you call it, in-house detention. Over there, you know, Vitaly is sharing a freaking cell made for 40 guys that has 200 guys in it, and probably, maybe not the only, but probably one of the only white people there, so they're gonna hate him. You know, he's gonna stick out for that. And they all know why he's in there, for just being an asshole. You know, that's one thing, from what I understand from people I know that have been to prison, have told me, is that they excuse me, let me get a drink of something. They say that if you're in prison for something stupid that was totally ridiculous, and that's why you're in there with them, and they're in there, you know, missing their kids and all that, they don't like that. You know, they feel like you threw it away. And Vitaly did. I don't know what in the hell he was smoking. I mean, he had already done some shit like that in America, and in, I want to say Canada, maybe. But, you know, these are places where you can get away with it. We all know that. If you're in America and you do something that isn't too crazy, you can just buy your way out of it. Everybody knows that. Yes, the justice system won't agree with me, but the people know I'm right, you know? If you're in America and you got money, you'll get away with it, period. But, yeah, he, like, attacked some lady jogging, and these are all, like, you know, prank attacks, you know, those fucking stupid things. But yeah, now he's rotting away in jail in the Philippines. That Johnny Salami cat is rotting away in jail, I think, in South Korea.